I know you're spending more money on defense now, and a lot more money. That's a positive thing. I'm not sure that General MacArthur would have said that's positive. He wouldn't like it, but I kind of think it's good. Do you understand what I mean by that? He made a statement, never let Germany rearm. You know, and I always think about that, when he says, sir, we're spending more money on defense. I say, oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. But at least to a certain point. There'll be a point when I'll say, please don't arm anymore if you don't mind. We'll be watching him. When
even Donald Trump gets nervous about a country's rearmament, you know something big is happening. General Douglas MacArthur once said, "Never let Germany rearm." And that fear didn't come from just any ordinary citizen. We're talking about the man who commanded the American victory in the Pacific, who personally accepted Japan's surrender, and who defeated the greatest war machines in history. If this guy said never to let Germany rearm, it was because he knew exactly what Germany was capable of. And for 80 years, Germany stayed in line, spent little on defense, avoided conflicts, took a defensive stance. But on February 24, 2022, Vladimir Putin did something that changed everything.
I have made the decision to carry out a special military operation. Its goal is to protect people who have been subjected to abuse and genocide by Kyiv for 8 years.
Not only invaded Ukraine,
show many Russian troops are within 10 miles of the Ukrainian border. Up to 190,000 of them are deployed, most in attack positions. The State Department says it will no longer engage
It has awakened a giant that had been sleeping for decades. 3 days later in Parliament, the then German Chancellor Olaf Scholz uttered a word that made the whole world stop. Zeitenwende, a historic turning point.
The war is a catastrophe for Ukraine, but the war will also turn out to be a catastrophe for Russia. From now on, we will invest more than 2% of our gross domestic product in our defense year after year. This new reality requires a clear response. We gave it. As you know, yesterday we decided that Germany will provide weapons to Ukraine for the country's defense. Together with the heads of state and government of the European Union, we approved a package of sanctions of unprecedented scale. We are cutting off funding to Russian banks and state-owned companies. We are preventing the export of future technologies to Russia. We are targeting the oligarchs and their investments in the European Union. And there is something else we must not forget. In many Russian cities, citizens have protested in recent days against Putin's war, facing arrest and punishment. That takes a lot of courage.
And do you know what that means? Germany is getting ready to become what Trump views with great concern, what MacArthur feared so much, and what Putin never imagined possible. The greatest conventional military power in Europe. Putin wanted to weaken Europe. Instead, he created his own nightmare. A united, determined, and heavily armed Germany. Today, we're going to find out why this is a complete nightmare for Russia. The first thing you need to understand is that this isn't just any Germany arming itself. This is the largest economy in Europe deciding that it's time to fight. And when Germany decides to fight, things get serious very quickly. Friedrich Merz, the new German chancellor, did something that seemed impossible. He created complete political consensus on rearmament. Parties that used to hate each other now agree on one thing. Germany needs to have teeth. And big teeth. That means it doesn't matter who wins the next elections, the German military project will continue. And now, Putin can't count on political changes to stop that. But Why exactly is this a nightmare for Russia? First, because it completely changes the map of the war in Europe. Until now, Putin knew that if he wanted to attack countries like Poland or the Baltic states, he would mainly face American troops. Now, he will face Germans. And Germans, defending their own Europe, fight very differently from Americans defending allies on the other side of the ocean. Second, because Germany is not just buying weapons. It is creating a new war industry. Companies like Rheinmetall are hiring thousands of employees. They are buying Volkswagen factories to make tanks. The German industry, which has always been efficient, is now focused on one thing: producing military equipment on a massive scale. Third, and perhaps most importantly, Germany is helping Ukraine produce weapons within Ukrainian territory itself. Long-range missiles that can reach anywhere in Russia. And moreover, Germany has lifted all restrictions on how Ukraine can use these weapons. Any Russian target is on the table. And you know what's most interesting about this story? Russia's reaction upon finding out about this. Dmitry Peskov, the famous spokesperson for Putin, called these decisions dangerous and contrary to any future peace agreement. But Putin knows that his words won't stop what's coming. The German industrial machine, when it decides to produce something, doesn't stop. Let me show you the numbers, and you'll understand why they have the potential to make Putin lose sleep. Germany will spend an impressive 5% of its gross domestic product on defense by 2031. To put that into perspective, that means between $180 and $250 billion per year. Just for comparison, Russia spends about $135 billion in 2025. That's during a full-scale war. Germany, in peacetime, will spend more than Russia at war. I know that sounds unbelievable. How are they able to do that? And the short answer is, they changed their own constitution. Germany had strict rules about how much it could spend. But now, defense is an exception. That frees up hundreds of billions of euros. It's as if they found buried treasure and decided to spend it all on tanks and missiles. And do you want to know what weapons they're buying? Well, this is where things get really scary for Putin. First, 35 F-35 fighter jets. These are not ordinary planes. They are the only ones in the world certified to carry American tactical nuclear bombs. Germany is maintaining its role in NATO's nuclear strategy, but now with the most advanced fighter jets on the planet. Second, the Arrow 3 system. It's an Israeli anti-missile shield that costs $3.5 billion. This system is capable of intercepting ballistic missiles in space, not in the atmosphere, but actually in space. Now, stop and think. Putin spent billions developing hypersonic missiles to break through Western defenses. And now, Germany has just bought something that can stop those missiles. Third, modernized Leopard tanks and an even more ambitious project: the main ground combat system. This is not just a tank, it's a war network with artificial intelligence, connected drones, systems that communicate on their own. It's literally the army of the future being built today. But Putin isn't just concerned about the weapons, he's concerned about where those weapons will be. Germany is doing something it hasn't done since World War II, permanently stationing troops abroad. We're talking about the 45th Panzer Brigade in Lithuania, made up of 4,800 German soldiers on the Russian border, equipped with the most modern tanks and vehicles. This brigade is more than a military unit. It's a statement. For Putin, it means that any attack on the Baltic countries will be a direct attack against German soldiers, not Americans who could leave Europe at any moment. Germans who are there to stay, after all. Europe is their home. And you know what's even more curious? The Russian reaction clearly shows their level of concern. State propaganda is comparing German rearmament to the Nazi era. They're trying to scare the Germans themselves by reminding them of the dark past. But that's not working. German public opinion supports rearmament. They understood that Putin is a real threat. Putin is also seeing something he didn't expect: Germany taking the lead in Europe. For decades, the Germans let the French and British talk about defense. Now they are the ones setting the pace. And when Germany leads Europe, things happen fast. The military-industrial cooperation between Germany and Ukraine is another nightmare. Imagine German industrial efficiency combined with Ukrainian combat experience. They are developing missiles that can reach Moscow, the Russian capital, drones that can attack Russian bases deep inside the country. And all of this is being produced in territory that Putin cannot bomb. MERS, since he took power, has made things very clear. He wants to show Putin that there are real consequences for his actions. Not just economic sanctions, but military consequences. But there is a part of the story that is even more worrying for Putin: the future of NATO. With Trump questioning America's commitment to Europe, Germany is preparing for a scenario where it might have to defend Europe on its own. And if that happens, Putin won't be facing a continent dependent on the Americans. He will face a militarily self-sufficient Europe. The transformation of the Bundeswehr is also impressive. The German armed forces are changing their combat philosophy. For decades, they prepared for peacekeeping missions. Now, they are training for high-intensity warfare. NATO exercises show German soldiers simulating combat against forces equipped like the Russians, and they are taking it very seriously. Putin expected that the invasion of Ukraine would divide Europe. The result was the opposite. It not only united Europe, but also made Germany take on a role it had avoided for decades: the role of military leader of the European continent. Now, the new German doctrine has a name: readiness for war. It's not just about having modern equipment. In other words, it's about being mentally prepared to use that equipment. Germany is now training a generation of soldiers who have never known war, but who may need to fight in Europe itself. And anyone who thinks this will take a long time is mistaken. Things are happening quickly. Just so you know, the brigade in Lithuania will reach full operational capacity in 2027. The F-35S will arrive in 2026. The Arrow 3 will become operational in 2025. While Russia is wearing itself out in Ukraine, Germany is systematically getting stronger. With each passing month, the military balance in Europe shifts further against Russia. As you can see, Putin has created exactly what MacArthur so greatly feared: a rearmed Germany. But this time, that Germany is not a threat to democracy. It's its greatest defender. And that makes things even worse for Russia. Germany seems to be creating a model. Just imagine if the largest economy in Europe can rearm quickly and efficiently, other countries might follow suit. What we could see from now on is an entire Europe arming itself according to German standards of quality and efficiency. And ironically, Putin invaded Ukraine thinking he would weaken the West. But instead, he's achieving exactly the opposite. He is creating the most militarized Europe since the Cold War. And in that sense, the Zeitenwende is not just a change in German policy. It's a geopolitical revolution that Putin has unintentionally unleashed. He wanted a multipolar world where America would be less dominant. He succeeded. Except now, one of the poles is a Germany that he himself forced to become a military power. And you, what do you think? Do you believe that Germany has what it takes to become the greatest military power in Europe? Leave your opinion in the comments. If this video helped you better understand what's happening in Europe, share it with someone who also needs to know about this. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos about geopolitics. See you next time.